What's going on, guys? Welcome back to In the Well Not of It podcast. I'm Siddons.
I'm Lane.
I'm Matt.
I'm Lincoln. Shout out Miss Joe and Pastor Jess. Today's episode is talking about the positive and negative effects of people around you. But before we get into any of that, we're going to go ahead and do a little social media drop for all the YouTube watchers. For all the YouTube watchers, it'll be on the screen at the bottom or the top of the screen, maybe the side, one of those places. But real quick before we do get started, I obviously just shouted out Pastor Jess and Miss Joe, and I just want to go ahead and continue on saying thank you to them. They have been a part of my church that I grew up in Lane. We grew up where we are right now, in this church, and they've been around my entire life that I can remember, basically. But they are moving away. Today he preaches last sermon, and it was all obviously great to have him as part of my walk with Christ and Lane's too. And they've met him too. Don't get it twisted. They know who he is. But just want to say thank you to them. Thank you to Miss Joe, who, though maybe she didn't do sermons on Sundays, she watched over the girls' class for as long as I can remember. And she hosts sleepovers too with her group of kids. And my sister, I know, was a part of that. So thank you to y'all. I actually don't know if they watch the podcast very often, but this episode, I just wanted to say thank you to y'all, and it means a lot for y'all to be a part of my journey with Christ, Lane's journey with Christ, and obviously they know you too. They're surely grateful for y'all too. But I just wanted to say that before we get started.
All right. I guess I'm leading off. All right. So I decided to talk about this primarily because I just thought of it, and I feel like it's a love verse. A lot of people can, or just it's a little devotion a lot of people can hear because we're kind of short on time because our camera is, on a thing. So I took some notes here, and it's about the way that individuals can affect you, and that can be both positive and negative. And my first point I want to set out is the people you put around yourself. So if you surround yourself with, people who are always out, mischief, doing bad things, like drugs, whether that be anything like that, you're more likely to catch up on that trend, you know what I mean? And the same goes the other way. If you surround yourself with positive, caring, loving people, you're more likely to catch up with that. And there is both positive and negatives to either. And what I've noticed. So the way others can, okay, hold on. I just lost myself. Oh my gosh. Okay. So this doesn't mean that you need to go out there and just dump all your friends pretty much because, we all mess up, okay? We all have our failures. We've all fallen short, and we've all, And everyone deserves a second chance because God gave us a second chance. And I just feel like you need to appreciate people more. Anyway, but now I'm going to talk about the negative side. So we tend to pick up a lot of things other people do, like I just mentioned previously. And the way to deal with these people, and what I consider to deal with people, is to just try to introduce them to good things. Because, like I just said, you can have a positive effect on people. So if they start hanging around you and seeing you do these good things, they could pick up on that. But you can also have a negative effect on people. If you hang around good people and act bad, you can bring them down.
But why are you talking about that? Like, I honestly, I really understand that. And I gave a devotion at school the other day about having two roads to go down. You either pick what he's saying, positive or negative, and usually down that positive road, you always have to watch out for the wolves in sheep's clothing. So, I mean, there's always going to be like sin that the devil makes look that's okay when it's really not. Whether that is addictions and people look at it as an escape, which is the way they look at it as a good thing, but in reality it's not. Yeah, I mean, there's lots of different things. It could be friends of like you just thought that guy is so cool and I want to hang out with him just because the way he made himself look good is because he looked cool to everybody else, but in reality he was the other side of him was not what you really expected. But that's just another example. But
yeah. And you need to really choose who you surround yourself with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I believe that's a huge thing, along with what other people are going to think about you. Yeah. What in reality you really shouldn't care what other people think about you. Mm-mm. But there that is.
I'm going to say with the path, there's the thing that always says the bad path is wider and the good path is narrow. And so, even though the good path or the bad path looks like it's a nice way to go, it's not. And like that everyone else is going down it, it's not. It's the good path that you have to choose. Okay, my notes were talking about it's the saying that the tree falls the way it leans. I was saying Jesus sat with sinners, but that's not who you recognize that he was with every single moment. He was with sinners, yes, and he was preaching the gospel to them, but he was also surrounding himself with his disciples. And the 12 disciples are the people who spent the most time with him, and they're the ones that eventually led him to where he needed to go on the cross to save mankind. And I was going to read Matthew 7:15 through 20, which these verses are in the context of false prophets, but they can also be just for people around you in general. It's, beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly are ravenous wolves. You will recognize them by their fruits. Are grapes gathered from thorn bushes or figs from thistles? So every healthy tree bears good fruits, but the diseased tree bears bad fruit. A healthy tree cannot bear bad fruit, nor can a diseased tree bear good fruit. Every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. Thus you will recognize them by their fruits. So that was just saying, everyone that you can see, they have their fruits, which is how they present themselves and how they look in general. And usually, by the way someone appears and the way they act, you can tell what kind of person they are, if they're a godly person or if they're far from God. And so, yes, you can surround yourself with those people, but don't let them take control of your life. That'll affect you to do what they do all the time. And just mainly keep your focus on God, and you will remain on the right path, and you won't be able to stray away to that other path. But if you have those bad people, make sure that you are still surrounding yourself with the good people, the people that will motivate you closer to Christ, and that will keep you going through life in general. So, yeah, that's all I have.
One thing that I've been thinking about a lot this week is actually perfect timing that Lane brought this up, because I've been thinking about it all week. I just lost my notes. But I've met a lot of people in my lifetime. A lot of people have met a lot of people. But there's just a few people I see daily almost that are just negative. Like, not necessarily they're doing anything bad either. They're just if you're around them, you just think the worst of like everything. And I feel like people overlook the aspect that others have such a big influence on you, especially when you're our age. But I also have met plenty of people at school that just fall into the wrong groups. Maybe they're new or something. That they're good people. I've talked to them, and they've just fell into the wrong stuff in their life. And that's one of the hardest things, I think. It's hard to understand how someone's so genuine, or someone's so, somebody so smart or caring can fall into a group of people that probably treat them like trash. And we talk about being a negative influence, having positive influence, being a positive influence. But one thing we don't talk about is the positive and negative of a relationship with someone else. Maybe for someone else, maybe they're positive for you and you're negative for them. I know this one kid, he comes up to me every single day. And, it's stuff that's a daily thing that happens every day. Sometimes it's just routine, but it can get annoying, but I got to understand why this happens. And and it's random when it happens, but he'll come up to me. He'll say whatever. And obviously, I don't know much about him. I don't think he knows much about me, but he knows that I feel like he thinks that I'm someone he can trust, and I try to be that, even when he's around. Y'all probably know who I'm talking about. But, some days I'm just having a bad day, and I got to admit, it can get on my nerves. It really can, but I can't be selfish enough to just, get mad at the kid. He's just looking for someone to talk to. And I feel like in life, people have those types of relationships where maybe you're hanging out with someone, let's say, and they treat you horrible. Maybe they use you for getting stuff. Maybe they say bad things about you, and you know this, but man, whenever y'all hang out, y'all seem to have a good time. But I actually have a quote that summarizes that. Don't set yourself on fire so others can feel warm. Other one is hold on. Another thing is blowing out someone else's candles won't make yours shine brighter. And if you're somebody that has a friendship with someone, and maybe y'all have known each other for a long time, and you're just, you'll be like, hey, what's up? How are you doing? Or you'll invite them somewhere, but then let's say that person shows up and you got nothing to do with them, or you don't talk to them, or you don't show that love that you act like you have for them. I feel like the relationship for both of y'all is just not very, strong, not very loving. But if you're the other guy, if you're setting yourself on fire to keep these people warm, if they're using you and you think that makes them your friend, you got to mature a little bit. You got to realize that that's not a friendship. You got to separate from them. And that's what's been on my mind recently. So there's some people that I talk to every day or that I know, and I notice little things just throughout. I not really thought about it because maybe I'm just naive, dumb, stupid, I don't know. But I've noticed things now throughout this week, and it really sets people apart in my brain now. You got to realize what kind of relationships you have. That sounded bad, sorry. You got to realize what type of relationships you have, and if they're really truthfully honest relationships. If y'all both, love each other. And I feel like now that I realize that, there's some people that I just don't see the same much. Not that they've necessarily done anything bad, but stuff piles up over the years. Eventually, it makes a mess. And I don't know. It's kind of funny you made that a subject. But that's I don't know. That's just been on my mind. People that you surround yourself with are very important. That's home life too. And, we talk about it all the time. Maybe the people around, we talked about it last episode, maybe the people around you, they supply you with something that you feel like is a need, and that's not necessarily how it works. But one other thing I just wanted to bring up, I talked about Pastor Jess earlier. He talked about Revelation today. And while you're young, one of the things that has to do with relationships is obviously the good ones you have. It's more important to find a few genuine good friends than have a bunch of ones that could care less about you. And if you have a few good, genuine friends, I hope y'all help each other, grow in the Word. Because Pastor just brought it up this morning. We're all, this whole earth is going to end at some point. And I wouldn't, I wouldn't spend the time you have on this earth, this limited time we have, just to have so much regret later. Because whether you like it or not, we don't know how soon God's going to come back. We don't know when that's going to happen. And but we just know it does. And he talked about, the wrath of God, 7 seals, the trumpets, the plagues, and all that. You're going to have to go through that. And if you don't have people around you to stick with you that have that same faith as you, then you're not going to get the reward at the end. Because we got to realize now when we're young what to live your life for, because then once you're older, you won't realize, you'll realize that what you did on this earth was worth the time. But that's my lecture for the day, I feel. You were about to say something.
Yeah, there was just one thing I was going to say. And you talked about the new kids that come in and get with the wrong group. Well, I think a huge problem that we have is that the groups that the kid shouldn't be in are always the ones that are so open for them to come into the group. We always have the good groups that we have all the good kids in there that we want, and then we shut all the new kids out. And I think that's a huge problem. And we see it every single day with a new kid that might come to a church group or school or whatever. They always seem to go to the bad group because it's the only group that's willing to take them in. So I think that's just big something to think on.
A bad group.
What would we consider a bad
what
group?
what we would consider
Oh, yeah.
a bad group. That's probably not the best profile. But, you know, just people that are, I won't say bad group, I'll just say sketchy. Some sketchy people.
Well, I feel like coming into a new school is like
It's frightening.
It has
That
to be
has
hard.
to be one of
And-
the worst things
Yeah.
ever.
And I feel like getting in a good group at the beginning, because no matter what group you're gonna go into, you're gonna see them as good,
Mm-hmm.
just because you're new.
Yeah.
And I feel like it could be hard to find an actual good group starting in a new school because you just don't know anyone.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. I can't imagine.
I can't really blame them.
I can't. Yeah, I get that. I really do. I like I said, there's some things I've talked about. I have no, actual experience, and I can't really imagine moving away anytime soon, with 1 year left. But I understand how that can be difficult. But last thing, one more thing that I want to make sure I get the quote right. I'll read it off my phone every time. Oh no. Your life isn't yours if you care about what others think. If you constantly worry about what people say, and that's something I struggle with. If you constantly think what other people think about you, and you trying to change yourself for somebody that may not even treat you right, then they're really running your life for you. And I feel like the only thing worth changing for is God, because you have circumstances, but you also have decisions. You make decisions to change who you are, even for the better or worse. And I feel like if you're going to change, you might as well be in the right direction. And like we've talked about this too, people are not going to like what you're doing. People aren't going to like what you believe in. People aren't going to like you, just technically. Some people will leave you. Some people just not be friends with you anymore. But like I said, if you have that good, genuine group that's willing to be on board with you no matter what, I feel like that's worth it. I don't have a verse to go with that.
I got nothing else.
I also have nothing else.
We have camera time
Yeah.
limited right now, so kind of moving fast. The Bills play today. I can talk about that. Got my Bill stuff on.
Shout out Jaden Daniels.
Wore this last week when we beat the Ravens.
Shout out my boy Drake May.
But I hope we win tonight. We're filming this on Sunday, an hour before the game. So, yeah, I hope the Bills win. If they do, you'll know next episode. I'll bring it up. But again, shout out Pastor Jess, Miss Joe. Y'all mean a lot to me, mean a lot to this church. Stay safe up there in Colorado. So that's all I got to say. If y'all got the verse of the day to end us off with.
With all that, the Lord, what is it? The Lord Jesus Christ be with you. Love be with you. In Jesus Christ. Amen.